I settled into the chair beside them, crossing my legs, my fingers grazing the rim of my glass. They moved together, hesitant at first. Then, finding a rhythm, she gasped. His hands guiding her, his touch slow, deliberate. I exhaled, warmth spreading through me as I watched. I planned to stay on the sidelines, but the longer I sat there, the harder it was to resist. Before we begin, please tap like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And if you already have, thank you for being here. Now, let's get started. I swear I don't even remember what it feels like to be with a man. She sighed, sinking into the couch. I laughed, swirling my wine. That's honestly tragic, she groaned. It is, it's been months. Maybe even a year. I shook my head. Couldn't be me. I don't think I could last a week without jumping my husband. She rolled her eyes. Yeah, we get it. You won the husband lottery. I smirked. I did though. The man knows exactly how to handle a woman. She let out a long breath. Must be nice. I tilted my head, studying her. She looked drained, not just tired, but empty. Maybe she missed companionship. But I had a feeling this was about something more physical. Maybe that's the problem. I'm used. She frowned. What problem? I leaned in slightly. You think you're feeling like this because of your divorce, but maybe you just need a man who actually knows what he's doing. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. Excuse me, I just smiled. Taking another sip. I mean, you wouldn't have to go looking. She blinked. What does that mean? I let the silence stretch before finally speaking. What if I lent you mine? Her breath hitched. You're kidding. I just kept smiling. Later that day, we were tangled in bed, skin-damp bodies humming with the afterglow. I stretched, running lazy fingers over his chest, still basking in the satisfaction only he could give me. That was amazing, I murmured. He smirked, eyes half-littered. As always, I let the silence linger. Let the warmth settle between us. Then casually, I said, she needs this. His brow furrowed. Who? My friend, I said, propping myself up on one elbow. She's miserable, lonely. I think she just needs to feel wanted again. He frowned slightly, still not following. And I trailed my nails over his stomach, feeling his breath hitch. And maybe you could help. His body tensed. Wait. You're serious? I nodded. She needs this, and you know exactly how to make a woman feel good. He exhaled, rubbing a hand over his face. I don't know. I leaned in, pressing my lips against his jaw. I'd be there watching, guiding. His breath wavered. I could feel the hesitation in him, but also the curiosity. You trust me, don't you? I whispered. His fingers twitched at my waist, his grip tight, unning just slightly. I could tell I already had him. The next morning I poured coffee as my husband walked into the kitchen. Still groggy. We should invite her over, I said, handing him a mug. He frowned, for I met his gaze to talk. He hesitated. And by talk you mean? I smirked. You'll see. A pause. He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. But he didn't say no. That was enough. I sent the text, she answered almost immediately. Sure, I could use the company. When she arrived, she looked tired, like she hadn't fully shaken off whatever weight she was carrying. But her eyes were clearer, more curious. We sat down, coffee in hand. I let the moment settle before tilting my head. Been thinking about what we talked about? She gave me a sidelong glance. Maybe. I smiled, and she sighed. I mean, I get what you were saying, but it's not exactly easy to just. She gestured vaguely. I leaned in slightly. What if it was her brows furrowed? What do you mean? I reached for my husband's wrist, running my fingers over his skin. Her eyes flickered between us. We want to help, I murmured, silence. She blinked, you're serious? I nodded, she swallowed. Her gaze shifting between me and him, searching for something. I held a stare. You trust me, don't you? A long pause, then finally she set her coffee down. What exactly are you suggesting? I smiled. Let me show you. I led them into the bedroom, my breath steady, my pulse a slow thrum beneath my skin. But inside I was burning. She followed hesitantly, her movements careful, uncertain. My husband, on the other hand, walked in with quiet tension in his frame, like he was still processing what was about to happen. I knew exactly what I was doing. I turned to him first, trailing my fingers down his chest, peeling away his shirt with deliberate ease. His breathing deep and his muscles flexing slightly under my touch. Then I faced her. She stood still, caught between anticipation and hesitation. Her lips parted as if waiting for permission. I smiled, sliding my hands over her shoulders, teasing the fabric of her top. She didn't pull away, so I took my time. The first piece of clothing hit the floor, then another. The weight in the air shifted. My husband reached for her, his hands moving slow, deliberate. His hesitation was still there, but his touch was steady. She exhaled shakily, sinking into his warmth, letting him guide her. I stepped back, lowering myself onto the chair beside the bed, watching, taking in the way his hands explored her, the way she responded, the quiet gasp slipping past her lips. I crossed my legs, the pressure sending a pulse of heat through me. This was what I wanted, to see him like this, to see her like this, to feel the tension coil tighter, hotter, as I watched his lips found her neck, tracing lower, his hands mapping her curves. She arched under him, her body reacting to every touch. Every slow movement I shifted, pressing my thighs together as warmth spread through me. My breath turning shallow, my fingers skimmed to the hem of my dress, the heat between my legs becoming a slow, aching pulse. Just like that, I murmured, my voice low, encouraging. Take your time with her. He did, his lips press lower, trailing along her skin, his hand steady as he guided her back against the mattress. She melted beneath him, a soft sigh escaping her lips, her fingers weaving into his hair. I dragged my nails lightly over my exposed thigh, the tingling sensation sending another wave of need through me. She was beautiful, so was he. And together, they were something even more intoxicating. I traced slow, lazy circles against the sensitive skin beneath my dress, teasing myself, matching the rhythm of their movements. My husband's hand slid lower, drawing a sharp inhale from her lips. Her fingers dug into his shoulders, her body trembling beneath his touch. I bit my lip, my breathing uneven, watching as she surrendered to him. Do you like the way he touches you? I asked, my voice smooth, teasing. She didn't answer, not with words, but the way her breath hitched, the way she clung to him, it was enough. The sounds filling the space, the slow, deliberate movements, the heat radiating between them. I had thought I could just sit here, just watch, just enjoy. But as the tension tightened, as the pleasure built between them, I realized something else. I was getting restless, and I wasn't sure how much longer I could stay on the sidelines. I was burning, the warmth in my body had built to high, the tension wound to tight. Every glance, every breath, every soft sound that filled the room, made it harder to stay on the sidelines. And I didn't want it anymore. I rose from the chair, stepping closer, letting my fingertips graze along my husband's arm. His breath hitched, his gaze flicking to mine. Deep and unreadable, she turned too. Her expression caught between hesitation and something else. Something eager. I smiled, slow, knowing. "Move up," I murmured, brushing my fingers through his hair, guiding him back against the pillows. He obeyed without question, his chest rising and falling heavily, his body tense beneath my touch. Then I turned to her. "Come here," I said softly, my voice thick with warmth. With promise, she hesitated, her breath uneven, but then she followed. She shifted into place, settling into him, her body molding against his. As he studied her, his hands firm at her sides, I watched, taking in the way they moved together. The silent communication between them, the heat humming between all of us. Then I climbed onto the bed, positioning myself above him, my hands settling at his shoulders. His breath was warm, sending a shiver up my spine. I leaned forward, my hands brushing against her arms, studying her, guiding her. Just like that, I whispered against her lips, tilting her chin toward me. "Let me help you," she exhaled sharply as I pressed my mouth to hers, tasting the heat still lingering on her skin. She melted into me, her fingers curling at my waist, letting me take control, letting me lead. I deepened the kiss, my hands sliding to her sides, helping her find the rhythm. Setting the pace, she followed my lead, her body moving in sync with mine, our breaths tangling together. Below me, my husband groaned, his fingers pressing into my back as he pulled me closer. A sharp wave of warmth shot through me, making me gasp against her lips. I tangled my fingers in her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss. The softness of her skin, the way her body reacted beneath my hands, it only made the fire inside me burn harder. I could feel the tension building, all of us teetering on the edge, the anticipation tightening with every movement, every touch, every sound. Her breath turned unsteady, her grip tightening on me. My husband's hands flexed at my sides, his body tensing beneath us. It was overwhelming, the energy coiled, sharp and consuming, until finally it unraveled. A rush of warmth spread through me, my body trembling, my breath catching in short, broken gasps. I felt them tense around me, the weight of the moment pressing into all of us, filling the room with lingering heat and satisfaction. For a long moment, none of us moved. The air was thick with warmth, our bodies tangled, our breaths uneven. Then I collapsed onto the bed, stretching lazily, a slow, satisfied smile curving my lips. She let out a shaky laugh, brushing her fingers through her tousled hair. My husband exhaled deeply, his arm draping over my stomach, his grip possessive even in the aftermath. I turned my head, glancing between them, my heart still racing. I had wanted to give her something to help her, but I hadn't expected just how much I would enjoy it myself. And I wasn't sure I wanted this to be the last time. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the tangled sheets, and the slow rise and fall of steady breaths. I stretched lazily, my body still humming with the remnants of the night before. Beside me, my husband stirred, his arm draped possessively over my waist. On the other side, she shifted, her fingers brushing absent-mindedly against my skin. There was no awkwardness, no regret, just a quiet, lingering warmth that settled deep in my bones. I turned my head, glancing between them, a knowing smile playing at my lips. Last night had been about her, about giving her something she needed, But now I knew better, I had enjoyed this just as much. Maybe even more. And as I traced lazy circles against my husband's chest, I knew one thing for certain. This wouldn't be the last time. I told myself this was just for her. Just a way to help, but now I'm not so sure. Is this something only the bold would dare to try? Or do some secrets belong in the dark? Let me know what you think in the comments. I want to hear every perspective. And if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's next. See you soon.